Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, health officials warn that the flu is widespread across the state. We'll have the latest. Also tonight, an update on global climate change policy with a former advisor to two British prime ministers. And we'll find out where Arizona stands on roadway safety laws. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The flu has turned deadly in Arizona with at least one adult and one pediatric death reported in Yuma County. Here to talk about how hard the flu is hitting Arizona is Jessica Rigler, Bureau Chief for the State Bureau of Epidemiology and Disease Control. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So how hard is Arizona getting hit?
Well, right now we're reporting widespread activity levels, like you've said. So we're seeing flu all over the state currently.
And that widespread level, is that like the highest level you can get?
It is the highest level you can get, yes.
So is it compared to last year? What are you seeing out there?
You know, actually, we had more cases at this time last year than we do this year. About 40% more cases, actually. The thing this year is that it seems like the flu is more severe, is hitting people more severely this year.
Interesting. And is it higher maybe than, I know you look at 5-year averages and stuff, higher than the 5-year average?
No, we're much lower than we typically expect to be at this time.
So basically, it sounds as though it's there, not as much, but it's hitting harder. Is that because of the flu strain itself?
It definitely could be. You know, it's really hard to say before we can look back over the whole season. But right now what we know is that the strain that's circulating is that same H1N1 strain that we saw in 2009. And we know that that strain traditionally hits folks in the adult age group about 19 to 49 harder than it does in the youngsters or the senior population.
I seem to remember back when it's a swine flu we're talking
That's
about
correct,
here, right?
yeah.
I seem to remember when we talked about this back in the day, they were saying that maybe some older folks had been exposed to this, and that's why that younger generation, that particular age group, was getting hit harder. Does that make sense?
We've seen some literature to support that back from an outbreak in 1976 that may suggest what you're saying is true. We don't know for sure, though.
So if you're around in 76, you may have been exposed. That means a better chance to avoid it this time.
That's right.
Best chance to avoid is still the flu shot?
Is getting vaccinated. That's right. We want folks to go out and get their flu shot. That's going to be your best protection.
Is that flu shot, the vaccine and the flu shot, is it addressing H1N1 or maybe something similar, an offshoot?
The H1N1 virus that is circulating right now is actually included in this year's flu shot. So the shot this year is really a good match for all the strains that are circulating currently.
Are you seeing some areas hit harder than others in Arizona?
You know, right now it's widespread throughout the state, so we're seeing a pretty good coverage across the state for the flu.
So rural areas, urban, the whole 9 yards,
Yep.
no real, is that unusual to not see a differential there?
You know, from week to week we might see differentials, but once you get into that peak where you see widespread activity, it's pretty normal to see it all over the state.
And as far as the flu itself, it just seems as though every year it happens, okay? And I'm wondering, is it happening earlier this year? Because it seems as though February and maybe even to March we're talking about this. We're into February, obviously, but it's early. Seems kind of early.
You know, the one thing we like to say is that the only thing predictable about flu is that it's unpredictable. So we expect the season to start sometime in late September, early October, and to last into May. But where that peak happens, where you're seeing that huge number of cases, that can vary. It could be January, February, March. It's really different every year.
Are you thinking that the peak hasn't happened quite yet?
It's so hard to say because some of our reports come in, later than they were diagnosed and things, and so it's very difficult to tell just by looking. Right now, we're still kind of on that upward swing, and we could turn that corner and start going down. We've seen states in the southeast start turning that corner and going down and seeing a decrease in cases, but it's really too soon to tell.
As far as Arizona and the rest of the country, do we follow a pattern? Do you see it first in the northeast, southeast, northwest, and then Arizona? I mean, how does that work?
Every year is really different.
It's really
again.
yeah.
So you can't look at one year and say the next year is going to be the same.
Can you look at the weather? I mean, it's been a relatively mild winter. Does that make a difference?
There's theories out there that where it's colder and people are congregated closer together indoors, you may get more rapid spread of flu and maybe a higher number of cases. But we're seeing cases in Arizona, and it's beautiful out here right now.
Right.
So it's tough to say there as well.
Because it's probably an old wives' tale, but it seems as though when the weather's bad, when the weather's cold, people get colds, they get the flu. Mm-hmm. We haven't had too much of that this year.
Right. That's right. Not a lot of cold weather. And I don't think it's really related to the temperature as much as it is the congregation of folks in indoor environments.
Now, as far as the vaccine is concerned, you can still get the vaccine, the flu shot, correct?
That's right.
Should you still get the flu shot?
We would say yes. From the state health department perspective, it's really important, because we don't know if the number of cases is on the decline, to get yourself protected if you're not already. Now, the thing I would caution is that it takes about 2 weeks for the body to build immunity. So if you get the shot today, you can't expect to have immunity until about 2 weeks from now. If you come into contact with the flu between now and 2 weeks, it's possible you'll still get it.
Interesting, and especially in that age group, that demographic that seems to be getting hit hardest by this H1N1, that's probably the group that doesn't get quite as many flu shots.
Exactly, yeah, that's the group traditionally we see that has a lower number of shots than the rest of the population.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on this. Good information, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
ASU's Global Institute of Technology will be hosting a panel discussion tomorrow on the future of global climate change policy. The event starts at 4 p.m. inside Wrigley Hall on ASU's Tempe campus. Among the featured speakers, John Ashton, who served as the former climate policy advisor for 2 British prime ministers. Well, it's good to have you here.
Ted, it's a great pleasure to be with you this evening.
This event now is titled Rescuing Climate Policy. Why does global climate policy need rescuing?
Because it's not working is the short answer to that. And so that raises a really interesting question, because throughout my lifetime, our lifetimes, we've hit a lot of problems in Britain, in America, in all of the major economies. We hit problems, and we're actually quite creative at finding ways of solving our problems. You know, we had a big financial crisis in 2008, and America is really picking itself up from that crisis. But climate change is a problem where we haven't so far been able to do that. We've got a lot of ideas about how to do it, but we haven't been able to put it all together and break through. And there are lots of conversations going on around the world about why that should be the case. I think ASU is convening under Mike Crow some extremely interesting conversations. That's why I'm here. I think part of that is the idea that you really have to get people out of their stovepipes. We live in a very stovepiped way. People are experts on different things, but this is about the whole of society, the whole of the economy. How do we build a sense of the future into which we can fit a solution to climate change? And that's why it's exciting to be taking part in the event tomorrow at ASU.
Is a major problem, you said the problem of climate change, is it a major concern that some very vocal folks don't think climate change is a problem?
Well, I think it's a concern that there are some very powerful forces at the moment operating to try and keep us on a kind of business as usual track. And one of the strategies you've seen has been a very serious attempt to undermine what the scientific community, or to undermine the credibility of what the scientific community has been saying. But I have to say, as you go around the world and you look at what's actually happening, you find that all kinds of different societies are experiencing more and more climatic stresses, which look very similar to the kind of stresses that the scientists have been saying we're going to be experiencing. And I think at the level of personal experience, public experience, that argument has actually is over. And I think people realize around the world something funny is going on. They don't quite know what it is, and they don't know what to do about it. But I just think that the real problem is, what do we do about, what do we do with that? And that's not a science question. It's not even an environment question. It seems to me it's an economy question and a politics question. How do we find a way of dealing with this which is attractive in terms of the jobs and the growth and the competitiveness at a time when there's an enormous amount of anxiety about jobs and growth and competitiveness?
Indeed, it sounds like the goal is you change from an existing carbon-intensive model to, at least a carbon-neutral model. Does government do this? Does capital do this? Does government and capital do this? Who does this?
I think you've put your finger on it. It has to be together. This is not a minor adjustment to the structure of the economy. If you think about it, what was the Industrial Revolution about? That created a very clearly defined foundation for economic growth, which was a high carbon foundation. So if you want to move quickly to a low carbon foundation, you're reconfiguring the deep structure of the economy. Government can't do that by itself. Private capital can't do it by itself. Government and private capital are not actually very good, certainly in Britain, at coming to a common understanding of how to deal with any particular problem. So that's one of the barriers. And then you have a lot of other voices. You have the faith groups, you have the NGOs, you have the professions. Everybody has a stake in this, and we have to find a way of building a conversation where we all feel our voices are being heard and we're moving forward together.
Is it a conversation that I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, is forced until someone somewhere, perhaps right now, perhaps in the future still, develops an advanced energy system that makes all of this conversation moot?
It's tempting to see it in that way, but actually I don't think that's really the heart of the matter. We have the advanced energy systems now. We know what to do in terms of technology and engineering. And actually one of the interesting things that's changed, despite the overall lack of progress, one of the things that's changed in the last few years is that you can now see some very significant examples in some of the major economies of the low carbon economy working in practice. We've had in Britain a pretty stagnant economy since 2008, since Lehman Brothers and all of that. It's just starting to pick up again now. Meanwhile, the low carbon economy has been growing at 4%. Quite spectacular. China is investing enormous amounts in a reconfigured energy system. Everybody says it's all about coal in China, and yes, there's a lot of coal, but if you look at what's happening in solar and wind, they're putting in the equivalent of 15 large power stations worth of solar this year, I think it is, for example. Germany has days where it's getting more than 50% of its electricity from solar and wind. So you can actually see on the ground some very powerful examples of this transition happening and contributing to hope about jobs and growth rather than anxiety about jobs and growth.
But are we seeing a grassroots kind of a thing right now? And if we are, what gets that grassroots level above board and into big swaying trees, if you will?
You're seeing some of it, but I would say you don't yet have a critical mass. You don't have enough to really drive us across the threshold. But I mean, I mentioned Germany just now. Germany is quite an interesting case because among the least popular institutions in Germany at the moment are the big utility companies. People feel that they're remote, that they are exploiting the consumer, they're charging too much for their electricity. And one of the attractions of this transition has been that you've got communities coming together. I mean, you say grassroots, this is real grassroots stuff, and building their own local electricity systems based on renewable energy. Nearly half of all of the new renewable energy capacity in Germany in the last few years has come from those kind of local grassroots initiatives. And that's partly because people want to do something about climate change, but it's actually more because people want to liberate themselves from the sinister clutches of these remote utilities whom they don't like.
Well, what about the sinister clutches of governments? You mentioned China, and I think China is like a number 2 as far as oil and coal in the country as far as emissions. I think isn't Russia number 1 these days? How do you convince Russia and China, government run here, that this is the way to go?
Yeah. There's an enormous difference between those two because Russia is a producer of oil and coal and natural gas and wants to sell as much of it as possible to people who will buy it from them. Whereas China does have a lot of domestic coal, but essentially it's a consumer economy. China is very worried about the way in which the rising demand from the Chinese economy tends to push up the price of oil, for example, and also to create pressures that mean that the price of oil is unpredictable, that you might get more and more dramatic spikes in the oil price in the future. So there's a lot of concern in China. How do we get off this hook? It's about getting off the hook of fossil fuels.
Yes.
And that's a much more conducive, if you're looking for, where are you going to see the most rapid progress, I wouldn't at the moment look in the direction of Russia for that, but I am looking in the direction of China, and what I'm seeing is really quite interesting.
Can you look in the direction of the United States, considering, and I'm going back to this again because we'll get email, we'll get telephone calls. Climate change doesn't exist. It's nature's way. It falls within the variability. The temperature changes recently. This whole business of the CO2 levels before the 2 Celsius increase, before the industrial age, who cares if it's 2 Celsius? Nature's gone 6 Celsius this way and 4 Celsius. We hear those arguments a lot, and those arguments hold a lot of sway in at least one major chamber of commerce, of a Congress here. How do you convince folks that's wrong?
Well, I'm aware of the intensity of the emotions that go around. I have to say, I mean, America is a very much part of my life. My mother had a second family in Pennsylvania. In all my previous professional activities, even before I became involved with climate change, America has been a very important part of that. And I don't know whether I should sort of say this on your show, but America's part of me. I love America. But the America that I came to love as a child was an America that had the best science in the world, that respected and listened to what was coming out of its science, that had a tremendous, a boundless optimism about its ability to build a better future for Americans by taking those messages coming out of science, turning them into technology, turning them into a sense that we can actually take control of our destiny. And I think one of the things as a friend of America that makes me sad and anxious now is that that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. The debate about climate change isn't really, it seems to me, a debate about climate change. It's become a symbol in a much deeper debate about where America's going, what it means to be American, what's the relationship, the correct relationship between the government and the market, for example, in America. And it's very hard in that situation to mobilize the forces that you need to mobilize in order to be, if you like, a leader in the global effort rather than a follower in the global effort. I would love to, the right place for America, it seems to me, in any great global process of transformation is to be a leader and to be seen as a leader. And it pains me to, as I travel around the world, to China, around Europe, to Africa, to Asia, at the moment America is seen as a follower in this debate because it's got tied up in this knot. I'd say one more thing, if I may, about Arizona, because it's really exciting for me to be here. It seems to me this is a state where you have a very direct experience of climatic stress. You have a drought going on at the moment, and you have a prospect of hotter and drier conditions. But you also spend in Arizona $12 billion a year importing oil and gas and coal. And if America is going to make this transition, it seems to me Arizona is going to be a winner from it, because you have a tremendous resource of low carbon energy, not least in solar. And so I think, Arizona is one. So ASU is in a very interesting position. It's got some very good leadership. The Global Institute of Sustainability and the people there are breaking down those barriers between stovepipes and convening these conversations. And I'm going to keep coming back here if I can, because I'd love to see how that goes.
Well, it's good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Ted, thank you very much.
group of highway safety advocates has released its 2014 roadmap of state highway and safety laws, and Arizona was ranked among the worst for things like occupant protection and distracted driving. Joining us to discuss the report is Linda Gorman of AAA Arizona. Good to see you again. Who did this study and what were they looking at?
It's a consumer group, the Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety, and so they look at this every year, and what they do is they rank states based on red, yellow, or green. 11 states, including Arizona, ranked red, and it really has to do with traffic safety laws. So there are a lot of opportunities for improvement. However, we have made a lot of great strides in the past few years too, so we don't want to discount some of the strides that we have made.
We don't want to discount it, but I looked at the map, I looked at the report and the map, and there's Arizona bright red down there in the corner, and we're surrounded by a bunch of states that aren't bright red. What are they doing that we're not doing?
Well, the report included a lot of different recommendations for improvement, but what they really focused on and some of the bigger issues involve things like primary seatbelt laws. So what we have in Arizona is a secondary seatbelt law. What that means is that you cannot be pulled over or cited for not wearing a seatbelt, whereas if you've ever driven through California, you know that as soon as you cross that line, you can be pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt alone. And so we know that seatbelts save lives, and primary laws in Arizona alone could have saved 66 lives last year.
It sounds like, according to the report, teenage driving, a big factor there as well. We don't seem to be doing as well as others. Why?
Right. Teenage driving is another big issue that graduated driver's licensing is something that AAA has lobbied for since the early 90s, and we did make some modest improvements in 2007, but we need to do more. So there are 3 areas that we can look at in terms of strengthening that law. One would be nighttime restrictions, second would be passenger limitations, and the third is wireless use. So those are the 3 areas. And if you look at nighttime restrictions, and it only makes sense because teens really do best when they learn how to drive in steps, and they do it during clear daylight hours. We have a midnight to 5 a.m. restriction right now. If we bump that back even an hour, we could save more lives.
One more area of concern is distracted driving. Arizona not doing too well on that one. Explain.
Right. Well, we don't have a statewide texting ban recognizing that, but what this report looked at and what AAA agrees with as well is that we need to remove distractions from novice drivers. These drivers, the Foundation for Traffic Safety has shown that these drivers have cell phones. They're actually 3 to 5 times more likely to become involved in a crash if they use their wireless phone, either texting or even talking on the phone. And so we recommend a ban that would prohibit these new drivers for their permitted period and then the first 6 months of unsupervised driving from using the phone at all.
It's interesting. Look, we got to get to the positives here now. Child passenger safety and impaired driving. Arizona did pretty well on those levels.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it's not all bad news. We've made great progress in terms of strengthening our child passenger safety law. We've added booster seat protection. We have a very, very stiff ignition interlock policy to prevent drunk driving. So there are some bright spots, and so we shouldn't overlook those. However, we shouldn't ignore needed improvements.
So what do you think we need to take from this particular report?
Well, there are some very modest changes that we can make immediately that would save lives. So I mentioned the wireless ban for new teen drivers. There's a bill that is being introduced this session, House Bill 2359, sponsored by Representative Fan. That would do just that, ban wireless devices for the permit period and the first 6 months where a teen has his unsupervised driver's license. That would allow teens to learn how to drive in an environment free from distractions.
And it looks like maybe an all-rider motorcycle helmet law was among the suggestions as well?
That was also included in the report, which makes sense. Arizona has seen a spike in not only motorcycle registrations, but also motorcycle deaths since 2010. It's common sense knowing that if you wear a motorcycle, you're less likely to become seriously injured or die.
Last question. Working with the legislature, seeing what they're interested in, what they're not interested in, do some of these ideas have some traction down there?
Well, I do think if you look at, you can't say that, I don't think it's fair to say legislators don't have interest in safety because I think they do, and as you pointed out, which was a very good point. So I think that there is some interest, but things like the GDL bill banning wireless usage, I think is something that is palatable and has some pretty good support.
All right. Linda, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And tomorrow on Arizona Horizon, we'll have our weekly legislative update with the Arizona Capital Times, and we'll hear about issues that are impacting hospitals around the state. That's tomorrow, 5:30 and 10 right here on Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.